Hey, we're finally live with another episode of East Meets West. Nick, why don't you do the honors and introduce us?
Good afternoon, Rob.
Good
You're supposed to
afternoon.
play along. Thank you. That's good. That's great. Welcome to East Meets West. It's the show where you and I discuss it
It's been a few months.
is the show where you and I discuss contemporary Canadiana from our adopted homes in Ottawa and Calgary. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing really honestly, my mood is excellent. The circumstances around getting this episode recorded have been nothing short of ridiculous.
Yeah, this was definitely like on the once in whenever's schedule
Yeah.
rigid in which we release. This whenever has definitely come up,
Mhm.
and man, do we have a lot to talk about? But like, it has been inconvenient.
Yes. I forget. I think it was one of the episodes that you weren't on of Future Chat when I talked with Mike about Backblaze, this internet backup service that I decided to sign up for a couple of months
Yeah,
ago. My hard drive, a couple times in the last year or so, 6 months to a year, it just kind of stopped working for a while, and I was able to kind of give it CPR, like turn it on and off a few times, and it came back to life.
yeah,
And I sat down at my computer because it had done it again. It was doing it more and more recently. After having signed up for Backblaze, which backed up my hard drive, I sat down on my computer this evening to do that same resuscitation process, and it just did not react at all. So my hard drive on my desktop computer is basically just DOA, and that conspired to set us back at least half an hour in recording this.
yeah. I also spilled my coffee,
Yes.
and I will say one of the many and varied advantages of espresso over traditional coffee methods. When you spill a full espresso, it's still not that much liquid.
Makes sense. I That seems like a plus, I guess, of it.
It is definitely a plus.
Right.
Another fun note is that I realized just now that my headphone jack has been plugged in halfway. So your voice is coming in just richly and smoothly now.
That's great.
Yeah, let's all take a moment and celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah, having spent the last, I think it's a little over 3 months not doing this show, we managed to collect a whole bunch of old stuff, but there's also just a litany of stories that have happened in the last week and a half that I think are also really worthy of discussion.
Mm.
Um, I feel like we should probably start with the earliest news, and that's the fact that the Leafs uh,
Got
participated.
Austin Matthews.
They participated in the draft lottery.
They
And
did.
yeah, so why
They
don't
won.
you tell me? I watched the draft lottery, but give me some of the backstory of how this came to pass.
Picture it. One terrible team in one terrible slap fight to the finish. Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers. And I don't know where to go with that really, but yeah, I didn't think they were going to lock it down. And then even if they did, the Edmonton Oilers have been so gifted at
Yeah,
the draft lottery in recent years that I thought there was no chance they would actually win.
right.
But they
But they
did,
did.
and I'm so happy about it. Like, I haven't gotten nearly as jazzed up by the Maple Leafs in recent years,
Yeah,
but I was definitely yelling without thinking about it when I saw the Maple Leaf turned over.
makes sense. I mean, yeah, there hasn't been a lot to cheer for other than like individual games, maybe, but overall,
It's
yeah,
yeah, like the cheering is more. I think that the management team is making sound decisions,
right.
even to the point where they say things like, "Hey, don't get your hopes up. This is going to be pretty terrible for a few years." Like, I was listening to the Steve Dangle podcast. I think it was today, and like, how many teams have said that in recent
Yeah, yeah,
memory or ever that, "Hey, don't get your hopes up. This is going to be terrible." Like even the Leafs under Burke, where he said, yeah, I'm kind of impatient. I don't know if I want to go for the 5-year rebuild. I want to see if I can do it in 3.
Right.
But no, they're like, even when they say, how far does having Austin Matthews speed up your rebuild process? And they say, I mean, it's a good thing, but
Yeah.
it's not like earth shaking. It's
Sure.
like, wow,
Well,
just temper my expectations further.
you can't rely on it. The Edmonton Oilers have proved that in the last few years, last what, 5 years plus. Draft picks can only do so much.
Well, that's I mean, part of the thing to remember is that they haven't really drafted well.
I
Like,
guess.
I mean, they've gotten good first round picks, but
Yeah.
it's hard to screw up
Yes.
top 10 picks in the first round or top 5 picks in the first round. But they've gotten, as far as I understand it, they've gotten almost nowhere with their later round picks. And you can't do that.
Right.
You can't do that and expect to be successful.
Hmm.
And yet they're doing that and expecting to be successful.
Right.
But like, I don't know. The cheering has been more. We got rid of Clarkson, although that was the last management group. And it's not so much Clarkson I took issue with, but his contract. We got a buyer for Fanuff. We've got some good talent, some good youth coming in. We're making good solid draft picks as far as I can see, and now we keep building.
The NHL draft hasn't happened yet, right? That happens after
No,
the
it has
season.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Something like
Okay.
that. Month or two.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a weird year. I have not really paid much attention at all to the NHL playoffs. Just there's no Canadian teams in
There's
it.
no Canadian teams. Like,
There's no interest.
they're playing very high level hockey, and that's great. It's just I'm not emotionally invested in it.
Yeah. Even
And
cheering for any Canadian teams, actually that Facebook memories feature popped up a thing from I guess it was probably 2011, I think, if I'm remembering back correctly, where I just posted a status that no Canucking way. Like I was cheering for the Vancouver Canucks because that was the year that they did really well. And
they went to the finals with
yeah,
with the Bruins that year. Yes.
yeah, I think so. But I have no allegiance to that team. It's just their Canadian team and they were still in the playoffs. So I followed them like game in, game out.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to what's happening in the NBA playoffs, which I've watched most of the last 2 weeks of NBA games, like most of each of the games.
Okay. I cannot bring myself to care about basketball. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe it would be different live, but I don't care.
Right. It's a tough thing to ease yourself into. I've played basketball quite a bit. And even then, I don't know, watching the Golden State Warriors has been really fun throughout the entire season as they've been doing really well up until the last week or so.
Okay.
Yeah, they went 73-9.
Ooh.
The best record the NBA has ever seen. And now they're, as of last night, they're one game away from losing to a middling kind of team, second or third or fourth seed. And yeah, they just completely collapsed.
Pulling a Washington Capitals.
Yes, exactly.
Perhaps like a Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
Will win the President's Trophy and then
do nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, I mean, that leads into the fact that the Raptors, as of tonight, they're playing Game 5 of their series against the Miami Heat, who no one expected them to do anything against.
Is it Miami or Cleveland?
Or sorry, they were. Yeah, Miami was the last round. I'm thinking LeBron James, and I'm thinking Miami because I'm still stuck in a few years ago. Yeah. Sorry, Cleveland. You're right. And nobody expected them to beat that team. They expected to be swept. Cleveland hadn't lost a game until 4 nights ago. And now they're in a brand new 3-game series with the Cavaliers. And I'm going to be watching that whole series. That Game 5 is tonight.
It's good. I'm glad. This is all just like my schedule of part-time retail being what it is. Like, I can't necessarily guarantee I'll get games off or reliable time off on specific times. I actually tried out for the local AFL club here, and I can't get the time off for the games and the practices, so that didn't happen.
Hmm.
But it just reminds me of how much I liked watching AFL and how much of that I'm not doing right now because all the games are on Australian time and there's only so much desire to stay up
Yeah, of
at
course.
midnight. Actually, it's funny. There was a party the other night that some friends were having, but they were all meeting up at the bar for 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And guys like, hey, do you want to come with me? I'm like, nope, I'm going to go to bed. And I did go to bed, and it was pretty great.
That's awesome. I need to do more of that.
Yeah, Nick is an old man and
Yeah.
has been since late university years.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we go chronologically to the next thing, I guess that would leave us at the census. That was another thing that we haven't really talked about since, I guess, what was it, May 12th was Census Day or May 10th or something like that.
Something like that. It
I,
was,
it was great to see Canadians getting excited about the census.
you know, that Ron Paul gif where they have like the rainbows behind them and it's happening.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's how I felt when the
Yeah.
census was coming out. It's just, oh man, like the census thing showed up and it's like, go to this website. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna do that right now. This is amazing. Kaya, do you mind if I do the census? She's like, you go right ahead. Evidence-based practices, there's gonna be evidence for it. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people felt that way. There was missing information for the last 10 years, and it seemed like while the conservative government was in power, it seemed like we may never go back to any kind of data gathering on that scale.
Yeah, like I was skeptical because you know they say they're going to bring the census back, but then
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, what if there's a huge backlash and people just hate it and then we never get it back? And so my expectations were thoroughly tempered, and
Yeah.
then it had happened,
Yeah.
and I was over the moon. Data,
Yeah.
my goodness gracious me! Can you even imagine?
Seeing people getting excited about the opportunity to fill in the long form census was great too. Just I didn't get a chance to do it, but I really wanted to.
I actually, you know, because me, I filled in the long form census for like the Belleville household one year,
Okay.
and that was great too. It was really interesting though, because it gets to some pretty specific questions to make like a really nice snapshot in time.
Right.
Like on this date, how many people were in your house, including those that don't actually live there, like things like that.
Yeah.
Just like I was like, well, that creates an unrealistic. And then I went, wait, no, because if you average it out in aggregate, like how many people are visiting everyone,
Yeah.
it's like a little snapshot in time of how many people are visiting.
Yeah.
Just fascinating. Just fascinating.
Yeah. And well, that was one of the things. It was in their platform. And then like the day after the election, they said they were reinstituting it. It was like they took, or they maybe it was the day after they took office. Like it was
Oh, they
immediate.
like it was that and what was the other thing? Like
The
the
gender equal
tax.
cabinet.
No, the well, I mean, yeah, that was right off the hop. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the Ways and Means motion for, or the Ways and Means bill for that thing, the tax break for the middle class.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like they just like they really wanted to get it into this upcoming income tax season, which
Right.
at this point has already happened. But
Yes. Yes.
yeah, also with the restructuring or whatever it is, I got a bunch of income tax credit for my school in 2015.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was great. Like I looked at I looked at how much money was on my income tax credits and I was like, wow, volunteering with the campaign has really paid off.
That's the kind of thing that gets you tax credits? Just
School. Well, it's the policy introduced by the new government. I think it could have been
oh,
it could
okay.
have been older, but I didn't have any indication that it was going to be income tax credit before that point.
Right. Yeah, because it sounds like you're saying I'm just campaigning in my own
No, 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 like
self-interest.
not just for me,
Yeah.
because like, oh hey Nick, old Kent here, wink wink, told us to shoot you some money.
Yes.
It's not like that. No, they can't do that.
No, and they
To the best of
wouldn't,
my
and
knowledge.
they couldn't. Set aside a specific tax earmark
Yeah,
for non-destructive testing.
slush fund. Find our volunteers. Give them some breaks.
Yes.
No, this isn't the Italian government we're talking about. This is
No, of
this is
course
the
not.
Canadian government.
Yeah. Yeah. But that being said, it has also been a very busy last 2 weeks politically, and kicking it
Oh,
all off.
oh boy, has it hit the fan these last couple weeks. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
this assisted dying bill, I guess, is what kicked it all off. Is that like everyone's getting really heated about it?
Oh, it's that coupled with there's another bill, and I don't know the exact details of it, but it has something to do with like trying to get things done.
Yeah.
Like the criticisms have been that they're trying to silence debate and stuff like that,
Mm.
and that's not really what it is. Like it's more to get bills passed and things like that. And one of the ways that opposition parties will express their distaste for the general goings on in a minority parliament is doing things like dragging their feet and causing procedural delays.
Yeah.
And I think it was to limit that or something. But
Right.
I mean, the liberals thus far have been good about listening to the other parties, because they have removed that bill now, or they're significantly restructuring it or something like that.
Okay.
Which I like. I like when a governing party listens to the opposition,
Yeah.
because even the craziest of opposition will have good ideas from time to time.
Right.
If you say enough things, eventually something's going to make sense or be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so this whole kind of debacle where
Oh
you
yeah,
had
and it was to do with the assisted dying bill
yeah,
or something, because there is a hard deadline that they are trying to meet.
yeah. The I wasn't actually clear because they kept referring to people in the news about it. They kept referring to people by their party status. Like there was the official whip of the opposition that was getting blocked. And that was the whole kind of mucking up procedure you were talking about.
Yeah, there were a bunch of New Democrats blocking the conservative whip,
Yeah.
or having watched a bunch of House of Cards now, the opposition whip.
Yeah. And so they were getting in his way. And
They were
Justin,
blocking him from moving, and
yeah.
it does seem that he might have been in on it. The opposition
Okay.
whip.
Okay.
He's, because the NDP are like, oh, look, we're in the way. Oh no. And the whip's like, oh, geez, here I am standing.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
look what's
They do that
happened
little
by accident.
back and forth
Yeah.
dance. Oh
Yeah.
no.
And
Oh,
the other thing to do with it, because a lot of criticism was, why doesn't he just turn left
yeah.
to that big open space right beside him?
Mhm.
But apparently there's like a tradition behind that where they're not supposed to cross the center line because people
I
fight, and
yeah.
so there's a rule.
There's I guess unwritten rule, right?
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's unwritten, but yeah,
Because Justin strode across that line with
the
purpose.
honorable member from Papineau, or
Yeah.
the right honorable member,
Yeah.
yeah, he strode across and grabbed the opposition whip and guided him through the fray,
Yes.
and in the process kicked off a a a news storm, the likes of which we have not seen in years.
Yeah. And to be honest,
Hashtag Elbowgate.
yeah, it kind of seemed like to me he was hoping for another, you know, glamorous moment where he gets to be the hero striding in, saving the day, breaking up this impasse, and he happened to inadvertently elbow somebody, which again, what he did was not okay. Like he shouldn't have done that. But if he hadn't elbowed this woman, this other MP, then everything I think would have just continued on. But there was a whole thing, and it's
Oh,
just
there
blown
was
up.
more than just they were trying to make hay out of that one.
Yeah,
Like in the process of turning around, let's just call a spade a spade. He elbowed what's her name, Russo or
Russo.
something like that. He
Yeah,
elbowed her in the boob,
yeah,
and she was upset about it. She let out a yelp. But they were even talking about the fact that he touched another member, like
right.
the whip,
Yeah,
and the I believe the term molested was used. He physically molested another
yes,
member, and by the dictionary definition of the word molested, yes, he did molest
yeah.
the person because
Mhm.
it means to touch.
Yeah.
Excuse me while I molest my glass of water so that I may drink from it.
Yeah, the intention here is kind of important, and I think that got missed by a lot of people saying, there's no excuse for this, and especially saying this was a woman, and you just like there were people comparing him to Jean Gomeshi, and like that's just it's that honestly happened, and
Yeah,
people
I believe it did.
with strong convictions say like there was a picture of the two of them posing together. They kept posting it like best buds, and
Okay.
yeah, the whole thing is so out of context. Like every single person who has ever gotten in a minor argument with someone and been like brushed up against uh has overreacted to that. That there's a very common thing, and that's all that happened here. There was a dust up between a couple of one of the Raptors and a couple of Cavaliers players in game 3 or 4, where one of the Cavaliers' arms like flailed back as part of this little shoving match, and the Cavalier guy's arm hit LeBron James in the face, and he play acted thinking that it was one of the Raptors' arms, and literally he got like this is a 265 pound or something man, like 6'8",
Yeah, he is a large gentleman.
flails like flies backwards, like slides himself along the court 10 feet back. Like this is the same thing. He barely got touched. She barely got touched, and it was inadvertent. And there was a big deal made of it.
Oh, she also said in the news a couple days later, like, because Kaya was complaining about this because she
Mhm.
thought she is so tired of talking about it, and I think it's hilarious. So I love talking about it, but she was just hashtag done. She literally could not even with that story
Yeah.
within the first few hours of hearing about it.
Right.
But like she was complaining that the NDP woman had come out and said if a guy had gotten hit in the crotch, like he wouldn't have to defend himself. And I was like, whoa, whoa. Like, I'm sure you were in discomfort,
Yeah.
but those are two very different injuries.
Well, the fact that this was all like it's not on, there's no slow motion replay, there's no high def video of this, but there is video of the incident, and
There's
it's
well,
so minor.
that's the thing. Like, I remember reading the headline and going, "Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
They've expended all their political capital in like the first, fiscal quarter of governing."
Yeah.
And then I went back and looked at it and went, "Wait, who did he hit?
Yeah.
What happened?" Like it was the most overblown thing. And what was funny is I attended the annual general meeting of the Calgary Center Electoral District Association last night.
Hmm.
And like we talked to some people that work in Ottawa and like they were talking about it and they were like, we were sure it was the end of the world like that week, just in the bubble on the hill.
Yeah.
Like we thought it was over. We were just done. And then the data starts pouring in that Canadians are a reasonable bunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the people that think less of Trudeau because of the incident is comparable to the number of people who didn't support him in the last election.
Right. A very small minority. Well, I
Well,
was
I mean,
hearing,
like 23%.
right. His approval rating or whatever measure they use for the job a politician is doing is that I think they said it's at its highest since before the election.
Yeah, it went up and Tom Mulcair's went way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like John Oliver even did a skit about it
Right.
because, yeah. And man, Trudeau just, he really went on an apology rampage. Like,
Right. Well, and like this whole thing didn't need to be about any kind of violence. And they made it about violence when really it's a procedural thing that was pretty immature of him to do. We've all had weak moments like that, but he shouldn't
David
have.
Clarkson has done like he hopped right over the boards after the whistle had blown and he went
Right.
to protect Phil Kessel, and boy did he get in a bunch of hot water about it.
Yeah. It's not a good thing to have done, but it's not a violent thing. It's just an inadvertent contact thing while he was doing something that he shouldn't have in his right mind been doing. He was
Well,
frustrated,
yeah.
obviously. But
Like
yeah.
that's what happens when there's a big crowd of people. People bump
Yes.
into each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes sensitive areas get hit because,
Yeah.
there are limbs and stuff.
I was reading or maybe I saw a video, someone saying this, like none of the MPs have obviously ever taken public transit because you get hit more often and harder than that every day taking public transit.
Yep.
It's just so minor and such an overreaction to the actual physical part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we had literally today in the news, and again, this is overblown thing. Everyone is on Justin Trudeau's case for taking a day in Japan to celebrate his wedding anniversary with his wife. And come on, give me a break.
This is actually the first I've heard about it.
Well, it's either just happened or is just happening. He's there. He's in Japan for I think a G7 meeting, and it was their anniversary, and so he is paying for this portion of the trip, as every public servant or politician ever does when they go somewhere they want to kind of visit.
Mm-hmm.
You extend your trip, like you're paying for the flight anyway, so you go a little bit early.
There was actually a big thing about that a few years ago, and how like Americans do not do that. Like people from the States, they think that's unacceptable. But here in Canada, we're just like, hey, we're here already.
Yeah.
Let's just take a day or two extra.
Yeah. And so they're trying to make a big thing out of it, but like to me, a politician who has been working his butt off for the better part of 6 months, a year almost now, we're coming up on a year, like since the election was called, he's just been working nonstop. Like he doesn't take days off. Let him have one day to celebrate his anniversary. This is just not a story. He's not, I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not on Trudeau's side there right now. And it's easy for me to criticize being, me. But like when you've attained that level of public service, like your life just isn't your own anymore.
Well, and
that's not how it works.
Fine, but it's not like he has to work every single day. Like it's a position, right? It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's a full-time job.
It's like, it's your life. Your life just becomes that.
He's allowed to take days off. That's he can go on vacations.
Yeah, I'll like grant that, but I sure hope there's nothing he's supposed to be doing.
Right, but the whole thing is like people are concerned because he's paid by the taxpayers, as are all public servants, and they just want to make absolutely
I bet the nannies have the children for this day, because that was another
that was ridiculous. Also, when they were accusing Sophie of, I guess, wrongfully needing help, like saying basically she's a stay-at-home mom, and really her job is, I mean, maybe not on the kind of life-changing policy-making decision type thing that Justin has to deal with as the actual politician, but being out in public as she is all the time, going to
She's a
events,
public figure
giving
like
speeches.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's completely understandable that she needs a support staff.
Yeah, like regardless whether or not she is salaried, she is a big part of, like, if not the Canadian government, then the Liberal Party right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As it should be. Like she's a great speaker. People are asking her. She's having to turn down requests constantly to speak and attend events. It like she needs help. Who cares? Why is this such a big deal? If Justin Trudeau was unmarried and needed help taking care of his kids, nobody would say anything about it.
Wouldn't they? Wouldn't they? I'm sure. I'm sure there would be criticism from the extremes of the political spectrum, like, what is he doing as a single father neglecting his children like that? I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, I gotta ask. I gotta ask the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like, I'm not saying anything myself. I'm just asking the questions. Like, oh, really? There's no editorial agenda here, is there? Well, so long that you've assured me.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. There's so much political firestorm that's trying to be raised, and we haven't talked since Justin gave that answer when he was at Google headquarters in Canada about quantum computing. We haven't talked about it in the.
I was really not sure that he answered that correctly. Like,
Yeah.
I thought the whole deal was that qubits can pack much more closely, and that's the big deal.
No,
and feel free to let me know what you think, because
you can get 3D, what would you call it? Like 3D transistors. That's a thing where they're stacked in all three dimensions, and that lets you get a lot tighter packing.
Oh, right. Because 3 different Z axes.
Yeah. That's a thing that exists.
The magnet on or off, right? Okay.
Yeah. But a quantum computer is very different, and it's really just the entangled states that let you have a bunch, it lets the quantum, like the quantum bits, have multiple values all at one time through superposition. And this gets into the thing where he explained it very succinctly in a couple minutes. And if you want to give a detailed explanation, it would take hours, and you might still, like, there are courses in university that would take 4 months and devote themselves to a very small piece of this. But he did a very good explanation of it. But immediately it was just piece after piece published. Oh, Trudeau shuts down Reporter, and Trudeau owns journalists over this quantum computing story. And then almost immediately afterwards, within the couple days in the aftermath, people were saying, "Oh, the journalist was a plant," and Trudeau had asked journalists to ask him questions about quantum computing because he had just learned all about it. And then there was double reverse think pieces where they were like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. He was still able to explain it really well." Like, it just goes back and forth, and everything is political. And
which is the name of a podcast that Evan Solomon was on until just recently.
Everything is political?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, he got promoted, and now he's not the actual on-air talent anymore. And it turns out that even if he's on staff, I really just wanted to listen to him talk about stuff.
Okay.
And so I haven't kept listening, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know. My honest read of basically everything in the past few months is that I'm not going to say the opposition parties are having an identity crisis, except for maybe the NDP, where they actually legitimately might be having an identity crisis. They're getting pretty fractured.
Yeah.
Over the Leap Manifesto, and it's bad. But Stephen Harper stepped down, leaving the Conservatives without a leader in or a party leader. And Mulcair didn't survive his leadership review. And so the parties are in disarray, and they don't have a clear, cohesive strategy to really hammer the governing party right now.
Right.
And so it's just political games for now. And that's my honest read of it. I hope that my own biases aren't just taking over. But it seems like right now they don't really have much that they can do. So they're making political games a thing and trying to grab headlines with success. But like they had a motion at one point. The Conservatives introduced a motion saying that the non-binding motion saying that the government supports unconditionally supports the Energy East pipeline,
Yeah.
and the the Liberals, and more pointedly for my own experiences, Kent Hare voted against the motion.
Hmm.
And like that grabbed a lot of headlines. Like I had people asking me, hey, Kent didn't support Energy East. What's the deal there? And I read the brief on it, and it's that, the language of unconditionally supporting Energy East. And then the obvious criticism is, well, we can't unconditionally support it because we, as a government, have put in place a review process. And
Yeah.
so if the review process comes back saying that it's not a good idea, we can't say that we unconditionally support it if it turns out to be a bad idea. So that's just a thing that a governing party can't say.
Right.
And so it's all a big game.
Yeah. And it always has been. I mean,
Such
it's
as politics.
yeah, it's not new. We're just unfortunately getting exposed to it now.
Yeah. Like even when I think it was 1 or 2 years ago, Justin Trudeau stood up in the House and asked the Minister of Science and Technology what ozone was and what role it played or something like that, or maybe it was CO2
Okay.
or something like that. And then the guy couldn't answer the question, and much political hay was made about it, and it grabbed a bunch of headlines, but it didn't really change anything.
Right. And it
It was
never
just
really does.
it was just, hey, we don't have any real power right now, but this is going to make you look bad, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah. And it works for for a couple of news cycles, and then it
Sure
goes away
does.
again.
Yeah, like that week, you'll be the talk of the town.
Yeah. And speaking of being the talk of the town, Stephen Harper.
Oh, sorry. I gotta put on one more note
Yeah.
about Elbowgate.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I was talking to one of the people from Ottawa last night, and we were talking about Elbowgate, and the person goes to, I don't know, do something, but like raises the elbows just a little bit, and I go, shh, be careful. Just lowered the elbow. Much laughter was had.
So wait, you molested this person?
I'm not gonna answer that phrase, Rob.
It's too fun. It's too easy. Like that.
Yeah,
Using that word, like that sentence demonstrates how powerful it can be.
There is a definite connotation to that word.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It
how
doesn't.
that works.
Yeah. So we heard in the aftermath of the fall election that Stephen Harper would not be running for leadership of the Conservative Party. And
Yeah, he stepped down as the Conservative leader.
yeah, since then, we haven't really seen or heard much of him. And this week, he has, I guess he or his team or whoever is in charge of what he says in public, announced that by the fall, he will be out of politics indefinitely. That's does that sum up the story, or is there more to it than that?
I'll be honest, I haven't actually read that story, but it seems likely.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's actually, do you have the story? Wait. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to go full on just fantastic. Wait, where's the story? I'm just gonna click the link here. Oh, yeah, that's Harper, all right. Yeah.
It says here getting into business interests. So I guess he couldn't get enough business into actual politics and scientific endeavor, and so he's gotten along with a lot of business people, and now he's going to move into business very smoothly.
Yep. It looks like he's out. He's had enough. And man, didn't he like become the prime minister in 2008?
It was earlier than that, wasn't it?
Or no, it was like 2006, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have had enough by now.
Yeah.
Like
I'd
be tired of it too.
Yeah. Being hated by a large number of people, and like anytime you end up being the person that people vote against in a political race and you end up losing that race, that's very disheartening, I would imagine. I've never gone through anything like that, but it would not be
Yeah.
fun.
Well, and I mean, it's like a lot of other jobs. Like I remember, who was it that took over for Carlisle after he got fired for the Leafs? Horacek. It
Okay.
was Horacek became the coach. And then when they hired Babcock, they like Horacek was just going to leave.
Okay.
I thought to myself, why wouldn't you just like take on a different role? And then, having experienced some career-based things, it's like, yeah, you don't. If someone takes your job and gives it to someone else, it wouldn't be easy to just be like, yeah, I'm going to do this other thing now.
No.
And I mean, if you're used to being the prime minister, it's got to be hard.
Yeah.
And like his life hasn't been his own for almost a decade.
Right.
More than a decade, because he did have a political career before he became the prime minister.
Yeah.
And so I could see wanting to do something else for probably a lot more money.
Right. There's a quote in here in the CBC story about Harper stepping down. They talked to, I guess, one of his old communication heads, and he was asked to comment on what Harper thought of the Elbowgate incident, because that was one of the last times he was actually in the House of Commons.
He was seen like smiling when it happened. I thought.
He said, I think he found it a bit amusing, but did not have any other comments. Like I can totally see him being like just sitting there giggling to himself as this is happening.
I like a combination of, oh my God, this is gonna look so bad for them, and like, oh my God, I'm so glad this isn't me.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that can happen to anybody, and yeah, that would probably be maybe even the sweetest thing that has happened since he lost the election. The sweetest thing that's happened for like bad to Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Cue the track from Avenue Q called Schadenfreude.
Yeah, I've not heard that, but
you should listen to the whole.
I'm familiar with
Avenue
the term.
Q. And go to the musical if it comes back to Ottawa, because that's where I saw it, and it is truly amazing.
Yeah, I've only ever heard very good things. I haven't seen any of. I haven't actually really enjoyed anything that Trey and Matt. Is that right? The South Park guys?
That's not who. I don't think. Wait,
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay,
because they did Book of Mormon. They did.
No time following up here.
I like your follow-up voice where you go in live.
It's
live
actually.
Reporting.
I think I'm paraphrasing a bit that the Steve Dangle podcast does. They have like, I think it's Mike Francesa is on in what's it, New York, and he frequently just it's just like does completely outrageous things on air. I don't see Trey Parker or Matt Stone.
No, you're right. The guy, what am I thinking of? Because the guy who wrote the music, Robert Lopez, he wrote the music for the Book of Mormon. Like he's very involved.
I would believe that.
That's
and the Book of Mormon was a fantastic musical. If you haven't gone to see it, I highly recommend it.
Right.
But as with all of their work, you have to accept the paradigm. Otherwise, you're going to be scandalized and not enjoy it very much. As I remember being in the lobby during intermission and hearing some, well, I mean, you can only listen to so many F-bombs before it just becomes meaningless. And it's like,
right.
Did you look into this play before you came? Because like, I know it generated a lot of hype, and if the hype alone is why you're here, you might not have a very good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what I'm thinking of then, because Robert Lopez is involved, as he was with them, but it's kind of that weird, quirky, because that was the one with puppets, right? Avenue Q?
No, you're the one with puppets is Team America.
No, I get that's live action.
Oh wait, sorry, yeah,
yeah, Avenue Q is definitely puppets.
No, Rob, it's a completely different thing.
I haven't seen it, but I don't want to say you're
Oh,
wrong,
I'm an
but I
idiot.
think you're
I'm just
wrong.
an unmitigated idiot. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's how
Yeah.
that's going.
But I've really wanted to see more and more Broadway shows, and I feel like I'm just gonna have to go to New York every year and see one. I went and saw two Broadway shows in February and I loved it. That was
Oh.
the last time you recorded the Western Bias edition of this podcast was while I was in New York watching two Broadway shows.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I forgot that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun.
On that
So
note, I still really want to have Matt on for so we can all talk about Mincom.
yeah, I know.
Maybe a friend of mine, Tom, who has a more right wing bent from London, Ontario, because I think that would make for an interesting discussion. The obvious problem being, of course, the same reason I don't watch any AFL because
Yeah, time zones.
Matt lives in Perth,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure is near where the West Coast Eagles play.
Yeah.
So,
If not right next door. But
yep.
yeah, Mincom is making a comeback.
It is, and there's so much to talk about with the different models, and I've actually come across some interesting things about it, and it's like I just want to talk about it so much.
There's a lot to say, but really we have to see trials go through, and there's one that's starting up. Apparently, like venture capital funding is going into a basic income experiment over like 10 or 15 years in Africa, giving money to small African communities.
Yeah.
Because it costs a lot less to give a lot of like several years worth of like money to live off of to thousands or tens of thousands of people there. Whereas if you're trying to do that in the States, it would cost millions or billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's a lot less there.
Turns out we consume a lot more money than
Their money goes a lot further than ours does.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited, and Switzerland is apparently getting closer and closer to passing their referendum on doing a just straight up $2,500 a month basic income.
Yeah. Finland's getting closer.
We've actually had there's money in the Ontario budget to do a pilot for basic income in Ontario.
Oh God, we should also be talking about Ontario. Like, in my opinion, the government is making some very poor decisions.
Yeah, they're not all great.
Yeah, I can't think of them specific. Oh, phasing out natural gas. It's like, really? It's your next demon to slay, eh?
Well, Nick, climate change. Have you heard of it?
I have. But here's the thing. We've got this natural gas. The single most energy efficient thing you can do with natural gas is to burn it to heat homes.
Yes.
That's fine. You don't have to have the gas plants. I don't know what you're going to do for peak capacity generation currently, but like that's fine. Do what you're going to do. But like telling people to stop burning natural gas for heat, I'm at a loss.
Yeah, energy policy is difficult for a lot of people to wrap their heads around, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd hope that politicians that have been in power for like a decade would have a better handle on these things.
You would think that. You would probably be wrong.
And the leader of the Ontario Progressive Conservatives has come out as being in favor of the LGBT community, which is going to be interesting.
As it always is.
Yeah, finally some progressive conservatives. Like those regular conservatives.
Oh, man. So, Nick, we don't have that much left to talk about. I just wanted to say, I wanted to share my experience. I did a very Canadian thing today.
Did you say you were sorry?
I didn't actually. Well, that's not what I'm referring to. I probably said it at some point. Okay. But I went and did yoga on Parliament Hill today.
Did you?
I did it. It was, the instruction was in French. It was probably the most Ottawa / most Canadian thing I could have done today.
Did you eat maple syrup while doing it?
I did not. I didn't eat anything. I've never done yoga before. That's a caveat. I went with a couple of people who have been a few times or many times, but I've never done yoga. And so it was very sweaty. It was
Do you know
like
what the style was?
regular. I don't know. French?
Did
Is
you
there French yoga?
did you hold poses for a long period of time, or did you kind of flow through a bunch of different poses?
It was pretty flowy.
Okay. I
There
don't
was
like
some
that kind.
holding. There was some holding, but it was
Okay.
pretty flowy.
Yeah. I don't like the flowy. I like the holdy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But it was relaxing, and other than the fact that it was something like 28 degrees, and I'm already a pretty sweaty person when I'm doing any kind of strength exercise. So there were a couple moments where I was just dripping, like literally sweat pouring off of me.
Oh
It
yeah. I've done
was
hot yoga before, and you just like you're looking down and actually seeing drips
yeah,
forming a puddle on your yoga mat, and you're
yeah,
like, what in God's name am I doing here? And then
yeah.
they're like, now lay down. You're like, I'm
Oh,
laying down into a puddle of my own sweat. And then you lay down, you're like, but it's actually so relaxing and it feels so good.
yeah. I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna like I was opening myself up to it, and this is how I know that I've matured in recent years because I would never have done yoga before. And one of my friends at work suggested it because they like it's 5 blocks away from where I work, and I was just like, okay, I'll give it a try. And so I went, and it was great. It was really relaxing and a nice way to spend a lunch outside. It was very allergic. I was trying for the first 20 minutes or so not to sneeze because I feel like that would have just disrupted everybody around me. But it was fun.
That's good. I'm glad
Yeah.
you enjoyed it.
I'm growing as a person.
Me too.
Did you want to go through your I you have an offbeat bundle thing in here. Is this old?
No, this is actually comparatively recent. This is from last month.
Okay. Because
So
we've talked about goats before.
yeah, I remember goats were on our radar, but
Yeah.
the city of Calgary is actually working with goats on a weed suppression experiment in Nose Hill Park.
Okay.
Nose Hill Park being the second biggest municipally based park in all of Canada.
Wow. I did not know that.
The,
Do you know what the
the
biggest is?
largest is Fish Creek Park, which is in the south of
Oh
Calgary.
wow.
Yeah,
Not bad.
great city.
This is possibly the least informative article I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, like, what's there to know?
I
They're letting
guess.
goats loose and they're eating things, and that's about it.
Are they letting goats loose?
I think so. Or
Huh.
like keeping them in selective areas to suppress whatever weeds they're working on. But yeah.
Right. Hmm.
Hmm.
I I'm all for this. I think the more goats we have, especially like they're saying they don't want to use chemical herbicides. So goats would make an ideal non-chemical
Yeah,
herbicide.
totally. Like even my cousin who is a minister in Thomasburg. Thomasburg. Yes, I think Thomasburg. At one point he was doing a 2-point charge and one was in something like that and one was in Tweed.
Okay.
And he said like there you could tell the difference between the city folk and the rural folk, where in the city he was saying, yeah, I mean, I got this big lawn now, it's a pain to mow, I think I might just get a goat. And like the city guys were like, oh, that's hilarious, yeah, absolutely. And then he'd say it in his in a place similar to his charge now, and they go, oh yeah, you should do that.
Mhm.
Like, you can go to the auction, pick one up for like less than $100 if you time it right.
It's not bad. I
Yeah, I mean, like that's why humans have domesticated like several animals.
yeah,
Like that's why we hang out with cats so much, because they're autonomous hunter killers for vermin.
right. Yeah,
Dogs wake up easily in the middle of the night and alert you to things when you're asleep.
right. And goats eat your weeds.
Yeah, goats just kind of keep things mowed. You can
Huh.
get milk from them if you want to.
I like it.
Yeah,
Eventually, somebody in Calgary is going to start bottling goat's milk or getting goat's cheese from these goats, and it will be the most sought after product.
that would be a cash cow.
Yes. Cash goat.
Yeah. No, did you know that like ducks will eat slugs from your lawn.
I've never heard that. No.
If people get slugs in their lawn or grubs and stuff like that, like it's bad news for the lawn.
Yeah.
But we had that duck for a while and just would just go out and waddle around and kind of give a listen and then plunk its bill into the earth, come out with something juicy. And
Huh.
it's like I've never seen a more efficient way to control pests in a lawn. And it also lays eggs,
Right.
really good eggs.
You would have to eat these duck eggs.
Oh, I made a 2 egg omelet one day with like some green peppers and onions, maybe mushrooms or something like that. I could only eat half of it
Wow.
because like the yolk is so rich. It's like we've discussed on Future Chat the problems with talking about dietary cholesterol intake
Yeah.
and how dietary cholesterol actually affects blood cholesterol.
Yeah.
So we won't get into that right now. But it had like, I think one duck egg has well over 100% of your daily recommended cholesterol intake. They are
Not bad.
very rich. So good.
It's a lot to take in.
I miss George. George was the duck's name.
Such a weird thing.
Yeah. She'd sit on your shoulder too. Just duck things.
George is an interesting name for a lady duck.
That's like an inside family joke because there's a Bugs Bunny bit where I think it's the abominable snowman catches Bugs and calls him George. He's like, I will love you and hug you and pet you and call you George. Something like that. And so for a while, my nickname for Hillary was George.
Okay.
And then she named the duck George because I will love you and hug you and pet you and call you George.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
As a consequence, I haven't called Hillary George any longer because it's just too confusing.
Right. Obviously.
Yeah. How could you?
Yeah. Is this duck still living or is this duck gone to a better dinner table?
It's funny because like the duck went to a farm and it's like, oh, the duck went to a farm, eh? Wink. But there's this guy who owns a decent patch of land who collects fowl.
Okay.
And so like it's like the Noah's Ark of fowl. Like I guess they drove up and there were a bunch of turkeys walking around and he was super excited to get George because he already had the drake of that species.
Okay.
And last I heard, George was a mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Either her own or some adopted chicks of some description.
Not bad. So either you're very gullible and it just died, or there's a real farm and George is very happy now. Or both, maybe.
Regardless, I'm going to choose to be happy.
Yeah, of course. Why would you choose anything else?
George is happily out there.
Yeah.
Laying eggs. Or not, because she has children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else to talk about this week?
Yes. On the topic of boobs.
Oh, yes. Yes. I skipped right over this one. Oh, man.
Yeah.
We weren't talking about boobs, but that's a perfect segue.
We were talking about boobs in Elbowgate.
I guess.
I mean, we weren't imminently talking about boobs, but yeah, or immediately. But yeah, the story out of Ottawa where a woman was asked to leave the gym because her chest was making other gym goers feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, I saw the picture in the Metro of the outfit she was wearing. And like, it's not scandalous in terms of activewear. Like, there's a lot more revealing activewear you can choose to put on.
Right. So,
like, the only thing I could think of was like, because the one thing that really does get under people's skin is showing a lot of cleavage.
Yeah.
But she wasn't doing that either.
So, I'm gonna back up here, and I read about this because I saw the social justice warrior post on Facebook.
Of course.
That had been shared. And of course she looked completely decent. And then I went in and I read a couple stories, including one in which the gym in question had done a full investigation of what happened. And it sounds like, I don't know if you have how much you've watched The Office and how much detail, but there's an episode where Dwight goes to this store in the mall and gets refused service, and they make a whole episode about it. And it turns out that he went into the store covered in blood and neglected to tell them that he was covered in blood, like neglected to
Oh
tell his
yeah.
employees in the office that he was covered in blood when he went in. And that was why he was refused service. So
Mhm.
that the gym came back and said, yeah, we conducted an investigation and our employees didn't do anything wrong. She was not dressed according to our dress code, which leads me to believe that something was different about her appearance while she was in the gym that had been changed by the time she posted a picture of herself in the same clothing possibly, but not necessarily looking the same as she did. And again, I can't speak to saying what actually happened and whether it was okay or not, but it sounds like it could very easily be the kind of thing where either it was pulled down much further than it had been, or like something had gotten out of place, because that kind of thing does happen. And obviously
Rob,
she doesn't.
Rob,
Yeah.
has an outfit ever gone askew while performing exercise or sports? I don't think that's ever happened.
I have you ever played
Complete
water polo?
impossibility.
Have you ever watched water polo?
I have not. Do
Oh
tell.
man. There
Have
are
you played water polo?
I've played it once or twice, but not in any competitive kind of way.
I was gonna say, because that is very physically demanding.
Yeah, we had like gym class back in school where we'd be playing in the shallow end, like not the deep end, not where you have to be treading water the whole
Did you
time.
have a pool or?
No, we like it was like a day
Oh, okay.
2 hour trip or whatever.
I was gonna say, like, what rich school did you go to?
Um, if you go right now,
Nick, it was a different time. Oil was
it was a
booming. We
different
had too
time.
much money. We didn't know what to do with it.
We were literally swimming in oil.
Instead of putting it in the Heritage Trust, we just like spent it like wild animals. It was crazy.
Um,
The good times were never gonna end, Nick.
if you go in right now and Google water polo and probably just not safe for work, you will find many pictures of the very first. I just typed in water polo NSFW, and the very first result from 2012, NBC aired a bare breast during live water polo coverage. Like the especially women's water polo, they tug at everything, and things get askew almost constantly. Yeah, there are compilations, like image compilations of these kinds of things happening, and I just see it. Like, I'm not saying she did anything wrong. I'm not saying anything needed to be kind of made of this, but this really seems like the kind of thing, like similar to Elbowgate, where she was asked to cover up or adjust her, like something happened, and rather than saying okay, realizing that she could very easily just fix this, she decided to make an issue out of it. And like news picked it up because that's a very big story. But
Because
it
boobs.
it sounds like the gym, like even as a gym, any public business, you want to, like, the customer's always right. You want to be like, yeah, we get it. We still want to have you come back in. We'll obviously look into this and make any policy changes that are needed. But in this case, they did that, and they found that the gym employees did nothing wrong, and made it seem very clear that this photo post didn't tell the whole story. This photo she posted after the fact.
Okay.
I'm very
Man, I would love to hear the whole story.
Yeah, exactly. And we're never going to hear the whole story. But at this point, it's too late. The story, like, it's already been news.
Yeah, it's over. It's gone.
Yeah. But yeah, these things happen. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm not saying the gym is wrong. I'm saying that this doesn't need to be as big of a deal. But in general, there is, like, this kind of sidesteps the entire issue, because there actually is an issue with discrimination. Like, there's a whole, like, especially in schools for younger women, there are huge issues of policies regarding dress code being applied differently to guys and girls. And this could be an example of that. I don't think this particular instance is with the gym, but I think in general, it actually is a big issue, especially when you get to the stigma that women have. We've talked about toplessness in past episodes. We've participated in toplessness in past episodes. there are different standards for men and women, and I don't think that there necessarily should be, but there's social stigma with female nudity being deemed sexual even when it's not sexual whatsoever in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And
Breastfeeding,
yeah,
especially.
yeah. Well, breastfeeding is a huge example, but even if you have just a naked woman walking down, or a topless woman walking down the street, it's that is considered, whether it is or not, that's considered very sexual. Whereas a
Mm-hmm.
guy walking down the street, depending on the context, could, I mean, it could be considered sexual, but it could also be just considered either,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
it could be considered sexual if that's your bag, but
exactly.
if it's not, like, nobody really gets bent out of shape about it.
Exactly. It's just a normal thing that happens. Whether or not you find it sexual, it's just a thing. Whereas,
You know, that guy's hot,
yeah,
like actually like too warm,
mhm,
and wanted to take his shirt off. Happens all the time. Yep.
yeah,
Nothing to see here. Move
it
along.
happened at Yoga on the Hill.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
I I didn't participate in this, but
And women are just like judged on their physical appearance a lot.
yeah,
Like even to the point where their wardrobes are judged.
yeah,
Like even when that is just it should not be an issue.
right.
I don't remember if we talked about this in the toplessness episode, but I've posted a story of the headline Coquitlam Mayor Richard Stewart wore same suit for 15 months and nobody noticed. And he did that because he watched, it was him or someone else that did a similar stunt. He saw another public figure, a female public figure,
Yeah,
who wore the same outfit to two consecutive things,
yeah,
and like got kind of grilled about it.
hmm,
And so he was like, huh, I bet if I got a nondescript navy blue suit, I could wear it every day and I don't think anyone would say anything.
right. If they
So
even noticed.
yeah, he wore it for 15 months, over a year. And like as a professional, I'm given to understand that if you wear a suit with any regularity, like you can count on a lifetime of about a year and a half.
Okay.
And if you're wearing it once every so often for like special occasions, you can bank on about 4 years.
Okay.
Whether or not it's still in fashion by that point is debatable.
Right.
But so he's getting to like the the lifetime of that garment.
Yeah. But that's a great investment. One suit for a year and a half.
Totally. 15 months. I'm curious as to what kind of suit it was.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I would buy that.
I have started, I'm switching up my dress shirts, but I basically, now that I'm biking some days to work, I basically just have a pair of pants that I leave at work. And
Mhm.
I have two pairs there, but I've worn the same pair of pants to work for the last probably 12 days. I've washed it a couple times in the intervening time. Like every week I'll bring it home and I'll wash it. But yeah, it nobody has said anything or noticed or anything.
You should wash your clothes as little as possible.
Oh yeah.
Is actually I'm firmly on the don't wash your jeans
Wash them like once a
end
month or
of
one
things.
if they get dirty. Like I spilled
Yeah, if you like, I don't know, if you fell down in the middle of a field of horses, they definitely need to go through the wash.
yes.
But if nothing offensive has gotten on them, they're good to go.
Yeah.
If you need to deodorize, you throw them in the freezer for an hour or so.
yeah.
Like
I
this is
went
literally the advice.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Levi
Um,
Strauss of jean fame has famously declared that he doesn't wash his jeans. And now
yeah.
in Levi's, there's a little thing that says wash these as little as possible.
Yeah. I went to Poutine Fest, the beloved
Ooh.
festival in Ottawa, and spilled some gravy on my jeans. And it really, to be honest, I rubbed it like with a napkin for 2 minutes and it was not noticeable. But I washed them that one time since these were Levi's that I got, and washed them once in the last 2 or 3 months. Like it's fine. Really, it's
I'll
fine.
accept that.
Yeah.
Same thing with suits. They lose their shape when you wash them. And that's not a good thing.
Even dry cleaning.
Well, you're not gonna
Exactly.
I have heard of people throwing them in the washer, and that's you shouldn't do that. Never do that.
No.
Public service announcement. Never throw your suit into a washer or dryer.
Yes.
I actually saw the aftermath of a pair of pants that went through the wash. It was, they'd gone fuzzy.
Yeah. I
Like
think I might have washed.
if you've seen a sweater pill,
Yeah.
imagine a pair of wool pants that are more pill than pants. And that's what it was. Like the only reason I could tell they were suit pants originally is they had all the latches and stuff in the right place.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I
It was
did that one
horrifying.
time. And the pants turned out okay.
Yeah. Don't do it again.
No. But it was a
Especially
mistake. It was an accident. I thought I was washing a different pair of pants, but
Oh,
it turned
okay.
out okay.
You should also buy a suit.
I have multiple suits now.
Ooh. That's exciting.
Yeah. It's really the kind of thing that you need as an adult. I used to think, and I still, part of me wants to believe that you don't need a suit, but multiple suits are helpful. There's
Man, at the moment, if I'm leaving the house, it is my outfit of choice. The jacket has so many pockets.
Even in the summer?
Like, yeah, if it's all natural fibers. Like I was walking outside and it was 25 or over, and I could feel that the outside of my suit was really warm because it was in direct sunlight. But I had the button open and all the airflow meant like the sun was beating down on a protective layer.
Right.
The airflow was keeping me cool. And the natural fibers breathe well. So I was comfortable. I didn't wear an undershirt under my shirt, but like I was what is it? Sitting, I don't know. I was okay.
Good to know.
I felt nice.
Yeah.
And not underdressed because I was wearing a suit.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ideal situation. That's what you want to. I have been okay wearing a suit in the summer or in hot weather, but I'm not. When it gets to 30 degrees, 25, 30, I usually get uncomfortable within half an hour. It's also
more humid there, so.
That's true.
And if you want, you can get suits without a full lining, so they breathe better.
Okay.
And apparently linens are better at breathing. They also wrinkle just at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend them, but well, I don't know. Maybe if I lived in Florida, I would be all about linen, but
right.
I'm not at the time of this recording.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yay, suits.
Nick, I think that does it for this episode.
I think it does as well.
I missed this, and I'm glad that we got to cover so much ground.
Yeah. Feel free to suggest this, by the way, because if you leave it to me, it's going to be, once every fiscal quarter.
I will try. I have been finding myself getting further and further behind in certain things, but specifically like the fact that my hard drive just died. And I knew that it was going to, but the fact that I let it actually happen means that it's going to be a lot more work to go get a new drive and put everything on it than it would be to just buy a new drive and transfer everything.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in your struggle.
Thank you. Well, in that case, I will end this broadcast and say goodbye to the people on the internet. You can head to unwindmedia.com/EMW for East Meets West to see past episodes of the show and more. All right. See you, Nick.
Bye, Rob.